Welcome to the CQC video training series. This is a spot topic video on the variables driver. In this video, we're going to look at the variables driver. The variables driver is not a real driver. It doesn't really talk to a device. It's a pseudo driver. And what it allows you to do is just to define any arbitrary fields that you would like it to have. Those fields are not associated with the device, but any value you write to them, the field will just store, and then you can come back and read it back later. And you may notice that this is very similar in concept to the action variables that you may have seen if you looked at any of the videos that have anything to do with actions, where you need a place to remember a value and get it back, but it's not in any way related to action variables. And in some ways, the naming of the driver was unfortunate because it does cause some confusion. And the big difference, of course, is that because it is a device driver, these values are available within the entire CQC system, whereas action variables are really only available within the particular program that is creating them. So they can have some very good uses. So for instance, you wanted to have a triggered event that did something when a particular zone went into a not ready state. But occasionally you might want to suppress that. So you might want to, say, create a field in the variables driver and use it just to, if it's set, have the action that's triggered, just look at that and say, well, that's set now. That means they want me to suppress this action and just do nothing. So you can use it very easily for that kind of stuff. There are also many other possible uses for it, just whatever you can come up with. So let's go ahead and load it here and just look at how you set it up. So I'm in devices, and these are some drivers we've already loaded previously in the video series. So I'll just right click and do add driver. And this one should be under charmed quark. And there it is right there, CQC variable driver. And as with the other simulator or faux type drivers, it doesn't have any actual connection to a device, so there's no requirement here as we install to set up any sort of serial port or IP port and that kind of thing. I'll just call it variables. And that should load here in a second. And variables driver is one of those that has what we call a client-side interface. Most don't, a few do. The ones that are more complex and have a good bit of configuration requirements, instead of making you edit some file somewhere, they have a interactive configuration interface. So if you right click on it, any driver that has this client interface enabled here has one, so you can click that to get to it. And in this case, the variables driver just lets us define a set of fields, and for each field we can configure its data type and whether we want it to be persistent and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and edit the fields. And we'll just add one here. And I'll use the example that we had before, so I'll call this one suppress kitchen zone. So let's say the action is going to respond to a change in the security zone in the kitchen. And in this case, according to which field is selected over here, you see its type information and its limits. And in this case, Boolean is fine. Remember, Boolean just means on, off, true, false. So in this case, if we just want to have a flag to suppress something, just being able to set it to true or false is fine. We probably don't need to persist it, but if you click this particular field will have its value persisted, so that if CQC were cycled, it would come back up with whatever its previous value was. In this case, it's probably not required. This is just some manual thing that you would probably do in some special case for some short period of time, just to suppress it because you want it to do something else and it might interfere. So if we hit save, and it says the configuration was uploaded. And we can see this new field here. And if we double click on variables to get to just the general purpose driver field spelunker, then we can see that we now have that field here and we can change it. And as I said before, it's not connected to any sort of device. It's just holding the last value that you wrote to it. So any of your CQC logic anywhere in the network can write values to this in order to set the value, and any of them can read it back in order to see what value has been set. So effectively, it just becomes a place to store system-wide values that you need to just remember and be able to use in your logic for whatever reason that you would need to. So whatever you can come up with in terms of how you would use it, have at it. So give it a shot, and we'll see you in the next video.